All right, you're welcome back. You're still listening to the Smooth Drive with Mazino and I. This evening, if you are listening to us and you'd like to join the conversation, our phone lines are open. Our WhatsApp line, actually.
I was going to say.
So feel free to join the conversation on WhatsApp this evening, 0809 444 0981. And this evening, we are discussing gender equality.
Oh, nice.
Yes, and its attendant issues. But we really want to look at the year in review. So 2019 has been described as the year that I think Nigerian women had a lot of wins. It was also the year that a lot of voices got heard, people spoke out, and it looked like, okay, our voices were beginning to matter as women, from the Market March to the Abuja raids to the Sex for Grades documentary that everyone started talking about. We started to see some form of response, some form of policy change because of these voices that were speaking out. It was also the year of Koza and Sola Fatoyinbo and Sola Dakolo and all that happened. So we are on Drive Time Discussions this evening. We're examining what will 2020 look like in terms of achieving equality for women in Nigeria. What are the issues that we are going to be raising? And did we win the fight in 2019? All those issues that were raised and, we saw some things change. Did we win, or do we still have to keep pushing and keep pressing? So this evening we have a guest, and she's going to be helping us discuss this topic. And of course, you can also join the conversation. You can put in your thoughts, ask your questions, put in your views on the matter. Her name is Kiki Mordi. You know her as Kiki Mordi on social media. She is a filmmaker, a documentary filmmaker. She's also a journalist with the BBC Africa Eye, right?
Yeah, well, I'm a freelance journalist.
Yeah.
All right. Work everywhere.
Okay, so if you remember the Sex for Grades scandal and the documentary that was on the BBC and everyone, got talking about it, we discussed it even on some of our shows here.
Right, we talked about it on the Drive Time show yesterday.
Yes, we did. So
I like to know her what she thinks about the results from the Ghana instance.
That one.
By the way, first of all, glad to meet you first time. We know each other on Instagram. First time I'm meeting you physically. Great stuff.
Yeah, awesome.
Interesting documentary. When we saw it, of course, you know what happened. Everybody was so captivated by it. But yesterday, or was it the day before, there was news about the instance from Ghana where the 2 lecturers were exonerated. But however, it wasn't like as if they were free from disciplinary actions from the universities. They were still going to have disciplinary actions on the matter. But how did you feel when you heard that news?
I think the framing was quite unfair. The University of Ghana, framed their, do I call it judgment? In a way that, what we saw on screen, Professor Jampo and the other lecturer, it wasn't sex for grades, as they call it. I mean, of course, you wouldn't expect journalists to allow their colleagues, go through the actual thing. If there is danger, would pull out immediately. And there is no way would be able to prove something like actual sex. But it's a culture, and it's a large spectrum from commenting on a woman's body to the end, which could include rape. So we aren't able to prove rape, but we're able to prove misconduct, which is what we did. And it's not, we didn't do it for you to have that as evidence alone, because you have a job as a school disciplinary committee, which is to investigate. You should make your own investigations as well, and not determine based off of the footage that we got. And we've always told them to reach out to the BBC if you need more, because definitely not all we got
was put out there on the documentary.
So it's like, okay, they claim that they've been doing their investigations, but no one reached out to us yet. So I mean, I respect what they've done, I respect that they have a policy, and I respect that they took out time to investigate this, but the results seem kind of unfair, seeing as we all saw what happened on screen.
Coming back to the results here in Nigeria, it was vastly different, considering the fact that we had universities now.
Do we have a result yet?
Well,
we're still in the process.
We're still in the process. But as against what happened in Ghana, in Nigeria, we had universities, decide. Universities investigated. We had some lecturers even fired.
Yes.
We had new policies come up to now guide the conduct of lecturers and students. Are you satisfied with all that?
So it's more of taking 5 steps forward and then 4 backwards.
Okay.
Well, that's still a step forward.
It's
Anyhow.
still a step forward.
Just a
but
teeny tiny
it's
step
just
forward.
it's just deceptive.
Okay.
Yes, we're moving very slowly, right? So speaking of policy changes, we had the new sexual harassment bill, which is awesome. And the content, which some of us are wary of, is that the student has to prove that there was sexual harassment, which is very difficult.
Which you can only prove after it's happened.
Exactly.
So
So that's one constraint. But I mean, the fact that it even exists and it's more encompassing right now. Right now, you can't even comment. Some words from the film were used, in the sexual harassment policy.
Okay.
You're a beautiful girl. What the lecturer said, you can't say that to a student anymore.
Oh, really?
Yes. So it's good. It's like amazing, exciting. And then we see that conditional clause. It's like, oh, come on. And then, we see that Unilag has started making some changes. You can now report to us. Then we hail it, very good. And then you hear news that lecturers are driving female students away because they wore sleeveless. And you're like, oh God, bad. So it's like this.
Boy.
So one good, one bad.
I just really hope that we get it right, and we shouldn't get tired of talking.
Indeed. I want us to also look at some of the other issues that were raised last year, and we saw, maybe not an outright turnaround, but signs that something might eventually change. And I'm going as far back as Market March.
Yes.
For people who don't know, so Market March started when a group of young women just got fed up with going to Yaba Market and getting groped. It at some point it was a thing. Like, you just know that when you go to the market, these men are going to grab you and grope you, trying to get you to buy stuff. And then as a woman, you try to slap their hands away. They start to call you names and you get harassed and everything. So there was a march that was organized, and women went into the market to protest this, and it spiraled into something that happened not just in Lagos but in some other parts of the country as well.
Eastern part of
In
Nigeria.
the east, protests all over the place. Now, there were reports that some markets are beginning to be sensitized.
Yes.
Some market leaders are calling, the traders to order and everything. Where are we on that issue right now?
On that issue, I would say that the momentum slowed down because they made significant efforts and there was significant improvement.
Okay.
There were mobile police spots where female police officers were in charge, and they would literally arrest you if you group a woman, which, like, I didn't think that was going to happen that fast, which was amazing.
Yeah.
But constraints coming from all parties, even as a woman, if I go to the market and a guy harasses me, he gets arrested, people would come and start begging, forgive, And I've mentioned so many times how forgiveness has been weaponized against a lot of Nigerian women. They are expected to be all forgiven, and the accountability is like a lost concept. So the police women are tired. They want to do their jobs. They don't want to arrest someone and someone to come and beg for his release the next day. It's tiring. So I think we should all put pressure. We marched, we were happy about it, we were passionate about it at the time, but now we've sort of moved on. And I just feel like we should keep that energy, because it's very easy for everything to go back to normal, which I think it is already happening.
It's already happening.
Yeah.
All right. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll look at some of the attendant issues. We'll start to look at 2020 and what we need to talk about, some of the things we need to pursue in terms of policy change, in terms of protection, and of course prevention. Stay here. This is still the Drive Time Discussions. We'll be right back. That we sometimes are reluctant to talk about it because we know how the employment situation is in Nigeria, especially for Nigerian women, what the numbers are.
Can I ask a pre-question to that?
Yes.
What
please.
is sexual harassment in a Nigerian workplace?
Okay.
Because I fear that for certain reasons, or maybe we're just desensitized, or maybe not well informed, or maybe we're just, like it's normal. People don't exactly know where the lines are.
Yes.
So what is sexual harassment in the workplace?
Good one. Where do we start
actually
from?
a very good question. And you're right. And it goes both ways when it comes to workplace.
Okay.
both ways. I'm talking about it happens. The men do it to the women, and the women do it to the men because of how normalized it has become. I mean, before you could comfortably say the men crossed all the lines, but like right now, when something is so normal, you end up doing it and not even realizing because you play with your colleagues. You claim that, oh, we're friends anyway. I mean, no one has any business commenting on your body just because you work in the same office. No one has any business groping you, grabbing your bum, or talking to you inappropriately. All of these things that we take for granted that most of us are guilty of, is actually sexual harassment in the office. But the lines have been so blurred that it has to be outright blackmail or rape before someone tries to do anything about it.
Borrowing your phrase, you said sometimes you play with each other. That would infer that there is, what's the word?
There's some sort of
familiarity between both parties. Now, does that also constitute sexual harassment when both parties are obviously in agreement?
Well, I mean, it constitutes misconduct. Because, to be fair, you are in a workplace environment, which that shouldn't be happening. But we now have companies that are semi-formal, not exactly formal. So again, it's difficult to tell. But the key word for sexual harassment has to be unwanted.
Okay.
So yes, if it's unwanted advances, it's harassment, and you should stop immediately. Then when you don't stop, then you're committing a crime.
Aha, then there's that. Who calibrates and says, okay, this is okay. Because often when these things go into full-blown harassment, there's often that, okay, I'm going to just push this on a little bit. I'm going to try. Okay. Actually, it's okay. Do it again. And
then you keep pushing.
You keep pushing. Where's that line? If you get what I mean.
Yes,
is there a handbook that says this is the line right here? You can't cross
No,
this.
but don't you think that deep down when people do these things, they know what they're doing?
I think they do.
Because, I mean, from the outside, it's easy to not see the line. But as a person who wanted to go and grope that lady, he probably thought about it and something probably told him not to do it, but he didn't listen, and he went ahead to do it anyway. But of course, you can't depend on people's conscience to curb sexual harassment.
I even think that there's some level of desensitization, like when people do not know. I understand that there are organizations that have like an employee handbook that they put what you can do, what you cannot do, what is allowed, what is not allowed. But to a certain degree, because of the way we are in this society where everything is a joke, everything is, we laugh about everything. So someone would, tap your bum, you would not, even you that your bum is being tapped, you're not seeing it as...
Oh dear God, where have you worked?
You're not seeing it.
It's just so
a good question.
It's a good question because you're not even seeing it as you're being harassed. And the person who's doing the tapping, when you try to call them out on it, they're thinking, what is your problem? Why are you
crying more than the blue?
Yeah, exactly.
Disclaimer, this was not at Smooth FM. Thank you.
Just so you know, that's very necessary,
Okay, yeah, I do understand that. I mean, you're even talking about tapping up. Some people don't know that they've been raped until they attend some of these seminars and they realize that, no, it had to be with your full consent, not with forced or coerced consent.
Not with begging.
Not with exactly.
Sorry, it just reminded me of something that happened in school.
Okay.
Someone, not a friend of mine,
Definitely
actually said he cried tears and then he was allowed.
Oh my God!
Wow,
that is so pathetic.
Wow.
What do you call that?
What? Why are you crying?
I don't know. He never lived it down because it was always we always jeered at him.
But it is manipulative.
It is manipulation,
Yes.
exactly.
That's the word. That's the word I was looking for. Very manipulative.
Oh dear.
So I mean, in the workplace, should we now start to ask for how do you address it when it happens? Do we need guidelines? Do we need policies?
We definitely do need those, and I mean at a national level, I think we are aware of, as times change, we know these things change as well.
Yeah.
So if we really claim to care about sexual harassment, stopping sexual harassment, would listen, would read the environment and pick up new ways people can be harassed and include that, at least for the bare minimums, for bare minimum for companies to follow. And then companies will look at their internal structure. This is who we are. Or we're a radio station, or we're a tech company. So this is how our company works. And then you have to use your own context to create your own policies. All right. So it may be difficult to say you can't wear certain clothes because you don't work in a bank. You have to dress a certain way. But basically, you have to use your own context to create policies. And that's how you know the difference between lip service and people who genuinely care. Some people are just looking for how to be politically correct. Other people really care about protecting their staff. And if you do care about protecting your staff, one complaint, it becomes a policy the next day. You know, one person can inform a law. One incident can inform a law to prevent future occurrences.
There's a message here from Yemisi. Yemisi says, "Hey guys, so yeah, we have made considerable progress in achieving gender equality, but we are far from where we should be. I see the inequality everywhere. In 2020, I see more women speaking up for themselves and others, and I also see a lot of pushback from the aggressors. We're still in a society that values cultures, even the ones that aren't doing us any good. I wish we could all just open our eyes and see the sheer hypocrisy in protecting our predators in the name of tradition, forgiveness, accepting faith, and etc. Let the fighters keep fighting, of which I am one.
Yes.
We'll get there someday. Well done to Kiki for all the work she did." All right. And Cruz says, "How do you know it's unwanted when it's not mentioned?" That's interesting.
True.
How do you know it's unwanted? Do you have to say that it's unwanted for you to know it's unwanted?
Based on policy, I guess, if there is such a policy.
You should actually seek for consent before. Yeah. Like if I want to touch, can I shake people, I mean, it's the times that we are in right now. I know people feel like it's a weird thing to do, but if you think about it, it's not so weird. Yeah. Because we haven't been doing it in the past. That's why it sounds weird. And the fact that we haven't been doing it in the past is just a testament of how we didn't understand our agency or the next person's agency. So I think it's not weird. It's not wrong. You're not a loser if you ask for permission to, can I hug you? I mean, it's not so sad. People try to make it look like, you're a dead guy if you have to beg somebody to hug. But like, it's truly not that. You can just ask, and it's cute. I find it cute if you ask.
I find it invasive if people hug me
without,
especially people I'm not very, very close to or very familiar with, and a handshake is very fine, but don't let Yoruba people say when handshake has extended to the elbow, we are going somewhere else. So don't just come
shake
and
my elbow.
Just bring your chest like that.
Yeah,
it's.
So you're not a hugger then.
So the best way to know is to ask.
Yes.
Yeah. Now
asking, I know. Have I ever hugged you? That
No,
should
you
tell
haven't
you
actually.
something.
Well,
Yeah.
It's just, how was a big hugger? So.
Oh yeah.
Come to think about it, she never asked me before she hugged me the first. I'm joking.
Oh, look at that.
Joking.
Can the HR hear this?
How please hug me every time it's allowed, please. It's okay.
Polaroid. That's your name? Okay. That's actually not. That's a non-question. Saint Fajo. All right.
No, that's one from before.
He's
typing actually.
He's typing. Okay,
sending a message.
Sending your message.
08094440991 is the WhatsApp number to send in your messages. We'll be waiting. If you have any questions for Kiki, or maybe you want to have some input on the show here today, let's have it. Okay.
Yeah. Which would bring us to the mini protest that happened after the Koza incident last year.
Yes.
Yeah. If the week that the news broke, the following Sunday we had turnouts in their major branches in Lagos and Abuja,
Port Harcourt.
Yeah, Port Harcourt, protesting that particular incident. And we saw how the case eventually turned out. Yeah. Do you have a particular take on that? And as it concerns religious spaces, what should we be looking at this year?
I think we should bring down these pastors from not just pastors, religious leaders, every religion, because I think there are two major religions in Nigeria, and we're very strong with it. We should humanize them again, and this is not even saying it from a place of they were dehumanized. They were godified. Is that a word?
I think humanizing them is also kind of it might also be problematic, because now when something happens with any of them, you now start to hear things like, oh, he's a father. Oh,
I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
I see what you're saying. But like, I think that pedestal that we put them on, we should just realize that they're just like us, capable of doing anything, and they should also be held accountable. So for the case of Koza, we don't know who is guilty or who isn't guilty, but what we know is we saw how they were guilty of how they responded to that case. You may not be guilty of rape, you may not be guilty of sexual harassment or whatnot, but your reaction to a very serious allegation like that says a lot about you. I mean, you're already guilty about that. We saw that with our own eyes. So I mean, nationwide, I just feel like we successfully told our daughters, because one person has come out to say this happened to her, and a couple of other people, of course, it has happened to them as well. But we've shown those girls and those women how we would react when it's their turn, and they will run back into their shell. So that's I always say shame on us for what we did. Well, not me, but like it's a big shame for how vile and wicked we were.
But when you talk about reactions, I would think that she she did get a lot of very
support.
She got support.
She got support because she got support from so many places, not all sectors.
Okay.
You know what? When it's at the institutional level, she didn't get the support.
That's religious institutional level.
Our support, can only do so much just to make her, feel not alone. But the support can come from the police. Did the police support her? Did the justice system support her? Did someone take it upon themselves to go and investigate? Obviously, she can't provide proof. This happened years ago. But something can be done. There's been whispers everywhere. What are we doing with these whispers? Are we 1+1? It's of course it's beyond every reasonable doubt. But do we still have reasonable doubt? So our support was amazing. It was warm. It was nice. But like at the end of the day, that's all it is. Until the institution starts to support, we'll just be like, hey, yeah, kumbaya, we stand with you, whatnot, and we'll continue.
And that's it.
Yeah.
We'll take another short break. When we come back, we'll look at this year and some of the changes we expect to see in terms of policy from the government, in terms of changes that even individuals, as members of the society, as civil organizations, we need to start making to ensure that by 2020 we have a safer and more equal environment for women to play with. Stay with us. You're still on Drive Time Discussions. There's nothing sexually gratifying in rape. Sexual feelings do not drive rape. Rape is driven by sadistic desire to dominate and inflict pain on a weaker person. It's a form of sadistic personality disorder. It's not about sex. It's about power, control, and abusive tendencies. To understand the mind of a rapist, you need to understand the psychology of sadism. We need to start addressing rape as a form of psychopathic disorder and stop blaming the victims of rape for what they have no control over. Any Nigerian counseling women to dress properly in order to avoid rape is the one in dire need of counseling. P.S. Sex without consent is rape. Thank you, Enzo, for your public enlightenment. Send us messages 0809 444 0981. We have Kiki Mordi in the studio this evening on Drive Time Discussions, and we've been talking about gender equality issues, looking at 2019 and of course what to expect in 2020. So before we went on break, Mazino, you said you wanted to ask a question.
I'm still trying to couch it correctly, but with you two intelligent, brilliant ladies in the studio, I'm finding this very hard. So I'm just going to put it as lamely as I can.
Okay.
Now we hear all of these complaints, and it's often coming from. It seems like it's always often. You actually noted this at the start of the show that it would seem like the voice is loudest when it comes to the women. However, there's the male issue there. There are people who are actually struggling through sexual harassment, but really don't know exactly what it is they're going through, and are male. These voices aren't heard
at all.
It would also seem like the documentary was all for women, and all the hashtags that have happened all through the year have been for about women. What word for the male folk then, who are actually struggling through these experiences without being able to communicate it or even express it in any way, shape, or form, for fear that cultural backlash, you not be man type of thing, or what's your problem, all of that. I mean,
that's a very good observation, and I think.
Oh, thank you very much.
I think the day it dropped, the day after, I think I've gotten this question like a couple of times, and I usually say that we didn't. This is not even me trying to explain anything. I'm just saying that what happened with Sex for Grades is that we gathered evidence from everywhere we could find, and then we followed the ones that were pointing towards a lot of lead. We followed the leads. So it what we found, based off of what we found, that we worked with. But in the process of investigating, I still always mention that, you know, there was a guy who was being sexually harassed, that, you know, decided to come forward and talk to me. And after some time, at some point, he bailed out because he was worried. So yes, I understand, and it's so unfortunate that we don't necessarily have a lot of resources to help these men that are going through things.
The conversation
I mean,
and society are not fair towards men when it comes to this, if you ask me. A bit. I'll give you a personal experience. I'll give you a personal experience.
Okay.
For a very short while, I was assisting lecturers at University of Ado-Ekiti.
Okay.
And I actually experienced situations where it wasn't you giving off signals. It was actually I was being harassed. You know, so which is why I actually brought that question up, and I asked, what avenue for men who are experiencing this?
Well, to be factual, it's the same avenue, it's the same office you would report it to. But again, like I said, I spoke to nothing less than 150 girls, and then the one guy. It was that one guy, and he was being harassed by a male lecturer.
Oh wow!
Yes,
it's a totally different show.
True. But you know what? It exists. A lot of men are harassed every day by women. It totally exists, and I hope, or I pray, or hope, which one? I know that there should be something done, because men wouldn't outrightly come out to tell you that they're being harassed. So, which is a problem. Yes, it's a very big problem. So I think we need to get to that point where it's bad. It's, you know, you said the country is unfair to men. The conversation. Okay, the conversation is not centered around men, quite all right. So that's why it may look like it's unfair to men. But honestly, a man wouldn't go to any establishment to say that, oh, I've been, well, it's true, I can't vouch for people, but a man wouldn't come to, you know, people who fight for these rights, and they would say, oh, sorry, I only fight for men, or I only fight for women. You know, we have things like Stand to End Rape, Domestic and Sexual Violence Response Team, and if you talk to them, if you talk to them, they will tell you that men come as well. But you know, but the numbers are few. The numbers are not a lot.
Because society when it comes to this is my opinion, and it's probably not going to, you know, be very palatable to hear, but I will still say it nevertheless, because I believe that when it comes to issues around conversations around men and sexual harassment, as it affects men, I think men themselves are a little bit. This is at the risk of sounding like I'm victim blaming, but men themselves also have to be accountable. Why? Because I've seen cases where a man tries to talk about his experiences, maybe being raped, maybe being harassed, and it is his fellow men that will shut him down through jokes, through laughter, through so this is a very typical.
It's to be fair, it's not just the men that do that.
Society, women. Take for instance this issue, this case that we talked about yesterday on Top 5 about that boy, the 26 or 36-year-old guy from Indonesia, the rapist in the UK who was caught. Now,
that was such a sad story.
Yes, an extremely sad story. But take a typical reaction to this. If a man was arrested like that for raping hundreds of women, hashtags would have trended. Women would have raised their voices. Now, where are the men? Men read this story. True. None of them trended any hashtag for their fellow man. But let women start trending hashtags for themselves. The men will start coming out to say, oh, what about us?
I see where the problem is. It's like, you know, the job of advocacy is a woman's job. Yeah. You know, so people, that's why
men are a bit too tight-lipped.
That's when people, when people talk to me,
not advocating
they
for
say,
themselves?
you people. You know, I've heard, it's so condescending. I don't know if people realize how condescending they sound when they talk to me. They're, you people and your cause. Like, what do you mean? It's a human rights problem. What are you talking about? You know, so it's not you people and your problem, or you people and your sexual harassment. Somebody even tweeted at me and said, face your sex for grades challenge.
Really?
what in God's name? You know? So it's true. It's just we do the heavy lifting. Apparently, it's always the woman's job. And so when women are too busy fighting for women, and they don't even have context anyway to fight for men.
Yes, we don't have context.
So if you don't do the job, you'll be left undone. Men need to speak up, and not just fight. Men need to speak up and start fighting for women. Maybe that's when they're working with us to fight for women, they will learn how to fight.
To learn a bit of empathy.
Yeah, they will learn a little bit of empathy.
But yes, I'm not going to speak for all feminists or all fighters for gender equality. Equality is not a piece. It's not pizza. It's like equal does not mean my equal will be more than your equal. Equal literally means equal. So if we are both equal, if I'm fighting for equality, I'm fighting for equality of both sexes or more sexes, if you believe that there are more than two sexes. So it's not that female gender equality,
male gender,
like if one I don't man 50 will just still be equal to 50, and that means 50 will be on both sides, if you know what I mean.
We'll be right back. Let's take a break. Kiki Mordi, remember, drop your messages. We'll take them when we come back after the break. 0809 444 0981. Behind
we always come up with a smile.
Yeah, because the kind of things
this is unfair to Lagos, because they should actually be a part of this. You know, I feel so bad.
Maybe we would have one of those things. The one that what's his name now? The comedian.
Who's that?
The South African comedian.
Oh yeah,
Trevor Noah.
That's the show. Yeah.
Yeah, he has this behind the scenes segment between the scenes. Yeah, where he talks. So we probably would do one of those things.
We should. It'll be R-rated, by the way.
Courtesy of Mazino. Enzo here says, the more we rant and rave about feminism, the more we make it look like women are problems, come issues to be solved. Nobody should be treated differently, positively or negatively, because he or she is a woman or a man. I do not stand with women. I do not stand with men. I do not even stand by myself. I stand by humanity. Simple. And he said, #think humanity first. Cruz.
He is for nobody and he's for everybody.
Okay. Cruz says, I would rather stand. Pick a side. Pick a side. Yeah, pick a side. Anyway, Cruz says, the truth is that the society expects men to man up when faced by challenges or circumstances. Hence, the prevalent silence.
Yeah. That's actually quite unfortunate. I just feel like more needs to be done to tell men that it's okay to come out. It's okay to be a victim. Like I always say, we call ourselves survivors, but we must not forget that we were first victimized, and you would only heal if you accept that.
Moving forward, what are we fighting for this year?
We're fighting for everything that has been lost in the past.
Yeah.
Nothing is too mundane. If we start saying that we want more women in pencil production, we'll get it. You know, I think people should stop saying this feminism is not about this. Feminism is about everything. Yeah. If you feel like you want equality of how many pieces of meat in your house, how many pieces of meat you want women to get versus men, it's very valid and we'll get it. It's the year of multitasking. No one should say, instead of fighting for this right, fight for this right. How about I do both? Thank you for your suggestion, but I'll do both. I just think that women should not feel ashamed to go for what they want.
Yeah,
it's been too
worried
long.
About most of the expressions that come up with these advocacy issues.
Okay.
And you used one of those words, we're fighting for this, and I'm thinking perhaps maybe a softer word would make it a bit more.
What's the word?
Catholic. I don't know the word.
More acceptable, more comfortable,
so that people wouldn't see it as okay, they put on their pugilistic gloves. Let's go to war.
I would like to say that for women to be able to vote, the people who advocated for that did not do it nicely. Yes. For women to have rights to own property, the people who advocated for that did not do it nicely.
The About Women's protest wasn't a tea party.
No, it wasn't. It's called the About Women's riot for a reason.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even like that word riot. It just seemed like the women were just
chaotic.
Yeah. It was a protest. And this is not to say that dialogue really goes a long way. There are people who do this, who actually have tea. And discuss these things, and you know what, change happens, to be fair. Change happens with dialogue and communication. Change also happens with so we are just going to understand that they are all valid. Do your own. go and be saying kumbaya with patriarchy. That's your method. And let this other person use their method. It's not a religion. Feminism or gender equality, the fight. I mean, they call it fight, not the gender equality tea party. The fight is it's not a unified. It's people should stop saying women should come in one voice. No, my voice is not the same thing with yours, Fola. I want different things. You want equality on radio. Me, I want equality somewhere else. It's so different. Like some people some people are looking for the right to not wear this piece of clothing, and in another country, people are fighting for the right to wear the same piece of clothing. So it's different. It's not one voice. Women are not a monolith. So we just need to understand that there are different types.
The idea, maybe the central theme or the unifying theme of it all is the right for women to have freedom and choices. Freedom of choice, basically.
Freedom of choice is not give me 2 options while men have like 10.
No. It's let me have as many options
as is humanly
available. So if you have 10 options as a man, I want to have 10 options too. I'm not going to say,
it's between marriage or death. Marriage, obviously.
Yinka here says, Yinka, let me read your message. Yinka says, sorry, you say it's okay for men to come out as a victim, so even if my wife asks me to kneel down and raise up my hands at home, I should come out and speak. Wallahi, my crew will so worry my life, like the fun will be out of this world. See, don't blame us, blame the system we find ourselves in. I think feminism should always play out when we have to pay for lunch. Let's share the bill. Well,
there we go.
There we go again.
Well, it's true. No one is blaming them. Well, are you blaming the men? I can't speak for you, but I think you know what? No one should blame the men. It's the system. But we must also remember that we are a part of the system. So we can change the system.
I think you're right when you talk about changing the system. Individually, when you start to consciously know these things and be different,
yes,
you can change the system.
I mean, the system is just a collection of families, basically small units of families coming together to make a community. If you make your family right, they would go out, spread, interact with the rest of the community, and it would genuinely spread. I know it looks like such a long shot, but we got this. We can actually do this. Just keep being conscious about it. It has to be very conscious. It has to be so conscious until it gets to the point where it's automatic for you.
Before we let you go, Kiki, let's look at social media and the advocacy space. People are fond of using this term in a very derogatory manner. Twitter feminists. So you advocate for something on social media, they call you a Twitter feminist, and they say it with all disdain, like, oh, okay.
They're also on Twitter.
They're also on Twitter. So my question here is. How effective has it been? Of course, let's not pretend we've not seen
the numbers don't lie.
Yeah,
I'm very sure if the suffragettes had a Twitter, they would have used that as well. I mean, it's better than dying in a protest.
On the streets,
on the streets. So
people always say that, why don't you take your protest out there? Why don't you go there?
The people
are you
out
staying
there
on
are
Twitter
on Twitter
to
too. I mean, this are like the million subscribers of the app.
Yeah.
But you know what? The advocacy leaves the internet and it goes to real life, like Market Match, as we observe.
Yes.
It was just a post. Someone posts about sanitary towels and the next thing is a movement. Because social media is a faster way to connect to a lot of people.
Yeah.
And if every brand is leveraging on that to sell products, why can't we sell advocacy on that as well? So yeah, social media is very important. You can look down on it all you want, but real change is happening while you just sit there and tweet.
Exactly.
Yes.
So you might as well tweet for a reason.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you so much, Kiki Mordi, for
it's been such an exciting show, actually.
For being with us on the show. Personal question. Don't worry, I'm not going to put you on the spot.
Okay.
After Sex for Grades, are you working on any projects?
That would be telling now, as in everybody will run if they know now. I mean, did you see how that one was conducted? It was under such stealth and secrecy. Now you want to blow the cover? Come on, Fola. At least off the air.
If you're asking if I'm on vacation, I'm not.
I think that'll do.
Okay, that would do. All right, it's been fun on Drag Time Discussions today. We'll step aside for the football guys to come in for Total Football at 8. And Mazino and I will be here again tomorrow.
Yes, indeed.
All right, have a good evening.